people who are anti-black or engaged in self-rejection, they will have a lot of black pride. Like Michael Jackson sat across from Oprah in that famous interview with his bleach white skin and his mutilated African features and his wig, sitting in Never Never Land, surrounded by all these expensive regal paintings of European monarchs and Peter Pan, and totally spend literally hundreds of $millions surrounding and engulfing himself in all of the trappings of Western culture, Western identity, in white, conspicuous consumption. He sat right across from Oprah and said, and I didn't even mention the kids, them white kids he got from somewhere, from Wally World. He sat there and looked Oprah dead in the face and said, I am a proud African American. I am a proud black man. And when I saw that, I was a kid. When I saw Michael Jackson profess that he was a proud black man, it made me proud to be a black man, because Michael Jackson was the king of pop. He was one of the most accomplished black entertainers in the history of entertainment. So it made me proud that I'm a part of the same group as him. But even though he was a proud black man, he was anti-black. He was an accomplished. Black History Month, his picture would go up on the wall right next to Message Jesse Jackson, right next to Dr. Martin Luther King, as somebody we could look up to and aspire to be like. At the same time we strive for black achievement, we find ourselves in anti-blackness. So I understand that, or black self-rejection. You have to reject blackness in order to get to a status where you can be such a successful black person that other black people must look up and strive to be like you. And that is why Dr. Amos Wilson correctly stated that black achievement in American society or Western societies is inversely proportional to our collective progress. Black individual achievement in this society is inversely proportional to our collective progress. And I've said this a million times on the Bro Diallo show. I've quoted this, Dr. Amos Wilson, on this more than anyone else. And when you talk about inverse proportionality, that means when one thing goes up, the other thing goes down. And Amos Wilson recognized and said, the more black lawyers we have in society, the higher rates of incarceration, the higher rates of fraud that black people are subjected to, legal fraud, the less justice we get it from the criminal justice system. And that's not just the more black lawyers, the more black judges, the more black prosecutors, the more black police officers, the more black precinct captains, the more black chiefs of police. The more black people that are achieving the highest ranks in the U.S. larger criminal justice and civil justice and legal system, we've lost more rights having a black man on the Supreme Court. And I'm not just talking about Clarence the Uncle Thomas. I'm also talking about Thurgood Marshall, the progressive black Supreme. We've lost more. We gained more favorable civil rights legislation and civil rights policies going through the Supreme Court than we did. Inverse proportionality. But it's not just law enforcement. Look at entertainment. We've got more black labels, more black people in directing movies, writing movies, producing movies, more black people behind the scene, grips, boom mic holders. There are more black people in entertainment, active roles in entertainment than ever before in history. But yet we see with some of the most profound and deep-rooted anti-blackness in entertainment. We got more black record executives, more black record labels. Remember when Suge Knight said, you don't want your executive producer, all on the video, all in trying to dance, come to Death Row. No Limit, Death Row, Bad Boy, Cash Money coming through the 9-9 to the 3. We got more black people in prominent positions in the music era. But yet the content of the music is more anti-black. In fact, we had white folks producing some progressive black music, white labels, not in Japanese labels. I remember when I started really pursuing some really progressive music from my childhood and beyond, I had to buy records from groups like in the early 90s. I would go to Tower Records, and all of the most progressive, uplifting, conscious, political, revolutionary music was on labels like Flying Dutchman, which is an old European label that got bought out by a Japanese label, and they were putting out some Gil Scott-Heron and some of the most progressive black conscious music. And at that same time, I could either go, Rockefeller, Bad Boy, putting out, if it wasn't just kill black people, it would sell worthless Versace and Miatas and Gucci to black people. If it wasn't murder, death, kill, it was materialism and consumption. Inverse proportionality. And you look at almost any industry where black people are making headway and progress, the military. For the first time in my lifetime, my generation, we had the very, very first chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff. Colin Powell was the first black man to be the top general over all Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. He ran the entire Pentagon. A black man was at the top soldier. And at the same time, black men were reaching ranks of lieutenants and generals and admirals. We were raising up. And even the U.S. military stepped up and said, listen, black men have been serving in the U.S. military since the Revolutionary Wars. Y'all was Buffalo Soldiers killing the Indians for us. Y'all went to Guam and Suriname and the Philippines. White black men have been killing all over the world for us. And we've been treating y'all wrong. And they even said under Bill Clinton that many black soldiers who fought valiantly did not receive the medals for no other reason than they were black. And a lot of black dead soldiers in the grave They gave them their medals that they never got because of racism. And they brought their families up and said, here's your medal, Purple Heart, Medal of Honor. But we find, when we look, the more black people that are in the military and the higher black people raised up in the ranks of military, the more black nations across the world come under aggressive attack from the military. We mad at Obama. Well, some of y'all ain't mad. What am I talking about? Where am I? I'm mad at Obama. I just have to speak for myself. I'm mad at Obama because Obama bombed Libya. Obama bombed, all of y'all talking about, Trump killed Suleiman. Trump is, in his murder of the Iranian general, was operating over a legal, a political, a geopolitical precedent that Obama set. Obama paved the way for Trump to do what he did. And y'all want to weep and wail and gnash your teeth and talk about World War III, and y'all forget that Obama's assassination and murder orgy across the world gave us open air slave markets in Libya. Even Obama's now running around with his $1 billion, talking about Obama's on track to be the wealthiest ex-president in the history of America. But he's black and he's proud and we love his, and he inspired all these little silly ass kids, y'all dressing y'all kids up in suit and ties and putting them in front of pictures of the Oval Office. You can be anything. No, you can't be anything. You can be a patsy for white supremacy. I'm so mad I'm saying white supremacy after all these years. I mean white domination and imperialism. Anyway, I can't talk about Obama. It just knocks me off my square. Anyway, Obama set that precedent. So the more black people we have in high ranks of the military, the less secure black people are all over the world. The more likely it is that the United States can viciously set up. If it wasn't for all these high-ranking officials and the black officials in the U.S. military, there wouldn't be no AFRICOM. And y'all don't even talk. Everybody talk about AFRICOM, but before AFRICOM, there was CARICOM in the Caribbean. So every time you look at black achievement, and people come at Bro Diallo and say, Bro Diallo's pro-poverty. You don't want black people to have nothing. Not if these are the stakes. Not at the expense of our African identity. Yeah, he said, Diallo don't want black people to achieve. Diallo's a hater. I'm hearing black folks now. Everybody's in the streets doing the Holy Ghost dance. Serena Williams has come out and won her first postpartum championship after having her daughter. They said she won a championship while she was pregnant, and now she done won a championship as a baby. And all these black people are so proud of Serena Williams. I'm indifferent. I don't care. I learned back when Michael Jackson, I felt my personal pride that Michael Jackson was on the corporate TV saying he's a proud black man when all the evidence surrounding him shows the opposite. But that's the problem with black achievement and pro-blackness. You don't really need any type of nothing. Just stay black and die. You stay black and die, that's it. That's all we ask of each other. And I also say, call that low racial esteem. Like, you find people that'll come up and say, they don't owe us nothing. They can do what they want, say what they want to say, do what they want to do. It don't matter because well, black people always want something. But that's a whole nother conundrum. But why am I talking about this? The reason I'm talking about this is because a lot of black people, successful black people, I want to talk to you black people, you 6-figure, 7-figure, 8, 9, 10-figure black folks. You high on the hall, house Negro. Poor and struggling black people, you ain't got to, y'all can tune out for a second. I just want to talk to all my affluent, wealthy black listeners. Day before yesterday, Iron Mike Tyson was interviewed. Iron Mike Tyson was interviewed because it's blowback. There are consequences to all this black achievement. But Iron Mike Tyson was interviewed. And I'm going to come back to why black achievement is intimately related to anti-blackness and why the more anti-black you are, the more potential you have to succeed in society and to thrive in society. I'm not saying you have to be anti-black to secure the bag. I'm saying anti-blackness will help you secure the bag. And I'm also saying you could be the most pro-black, conscious, militant black person in the world, most sincere pro-black. But the more of the bag you secure, the more your pro-blackness will be eroded. And I'm going to get to that. But let me tell you what made me want to talk to the people them about this issue. Mike Tyson said in an interview that none of his children like black people. Mike Tyson has 7 children. And he has children ranging from little toddlers to full-blown adults. And he said that his adult children don't want to date other black people. And he said that his younger children don't want to be friends with black people. And he was being interviewed by T.I. of all people. And he said that I failed as a man. He said, my daughters don't want to date black men. They don't want to be friends with black men. And maybe it's because of the type of black man I was when they were coming up. Even though he gave them money, lavished them with everything they could ever want. He felt that the type of black man that he was, irresponsible, addicted to drugs, violent, quick to anger, slow to reason, that perhaps that is what caused them to be against black men. But then I had to say, Mike Tyson, that's not the whole story, because even if you were the worst black man in the world, why don't your sons want to be friends with black people? Why don't your sons want to date black women? If it's just your daughters, maybe if you turned your daughters against all black men, and if your daughters don't like violence, if your daughters don't like people with a history of cruel behavior, then they should hate white men, then they hate white. They'd have to date a whole different species, because white men have been are the most violent men. They're the ones with the nukes. So that's never a rationale. Oh, black men are violent. Okay, yeah. Where'd we learn it from? Who taught us that? Who trained up us? But so Mike Tyson says that. And that made me think about Ricky Smiley. And I'm going to use celebrities because they're people we all know. I can't really talk about these more obscure, even though I know personally, I've rubbed elbows with some of the high society, wealthy, established black people. So I'm not just, celebrities aren't the only one. Black scholars, black intellects, and even, but I'll get to that. But so that's Mike Tyson. And he said he wonders why his children don't like black kids. His adult children don't like. But if you go look at Ricky Smiley, this is an older story. This is from 2017. And Ricky Smiley's son apparently was on some reality TV show. And on that reality TV show, and Ricky Smiley, in case you don't know, he's a successful comedian and radio show host. He's based out of Atlanta. And he's one of my wife's favorite comedians because he captures blackness. You know, you go watch his show and he does this skit where he pretends to be this old church lady. And my wife, maybe I'll have her come on the show and do her Ricky Smiley impression of an old black lady. She just loves it. If she's listening now, she's laughing. She just, every day I got to hear her do this, her mock up. Remember Ricky Smiley was like, ah. Like, okay, yeah. I'm probably the only one that's seen her comedic impressions. I'll tell you, you need to get out there, put yourself out there. You're good at it. But anyway, I digress. Ricky Smiley, you know, nepotism. I'm not anti-nepotism, real talk. I know we don't live in a meritocracy. I ain't gonna play this game. I don't think black people should pretend meritocracy if white folks don't play meritocracy. So I have no problem with Ricky Smiley getting his son his own TV reality show, whatever. But his son was on a reality show. And his son's friend or cousin or somebody he was related to set them up on a blind date, called up Ricky Smiley's son and was like, yo, I got these two hotties, let's go out. These are young guys, late teens, early 20s. And so the guy was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So the friend shows up with two black girls. And so on the show, while the reality show, not even off camera, on the show, shamelessly, Ricky Smiley's son pulls his cousin or friend or brother aside and said, yo, why you bring a black girl here? I don't date black girls. You know damn well if you're trying to hook me up with somebody and you're going to bring a black, I'm not attracted to her. And the poor black girl was on TV and she's crying and he's sending them hoes marching. Step off. And so, of course, people are outraged, like, how dare you embarrass this young black, blah, blah, blah. And then Ricky Smiley came out and was like, mind your business. My son can date who he wants. And my son is a successful black man. And he don't have to be held back. And y'all not going to tell him how to live his best life. And he's attracted to. And y'all worry about y'all. And Ricky Smiley really supported his son in saying, I don't want nothing to do with no black girls. And Ricky Smiley made all his money off of black women. Like I said, my wife was a fan. Hell, he made money not just from the support of black women. He made his millions of dollars dressing up and mimicking the comedy and stylings and culture of black women. All of his famous characters are him dressing up like a black woman. And he got the nerve to say, I don't give a damn about no black woman. And I passed that mutation on to my son. But then his radio show ratings started to drop. His bookings went down. You mess with sisters. That's one thing I love about black women today. The way y'all just come like a mass and just, y'all can roll on somebody, boy. Gang, gang. Sisters, man, you cross sisters. Y'all really getting it together. And I support it. But anyway, he got canceled.